Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Halva for the Heart, Dying and Grieving in Diaspora. My name is Misha. I am an Iranian American death doula and grief tender. And on today's episode, we have an incredible interview with the French Iranian Colombian artist and photographer Roxanne Kosagari. She is sharing with us her latest project, a photo book in the shape of a passport that documents her return to Iran after 20 years through photos and poetry. A little background on Roxanne before we head to the interview. Roxanne Kosagari is an artist and photographer born in France to an Iranian father and Colombian mother. Alongside her artistic practice, she is a human rights lawyer and researcher. While law and research allow her to articulate questions about our world, photography is a space of freedom, a more intuitive terrain where she can explore what words cannot capture. Her work explores diasporic memory, emotions linked to exile, and the transmission or loss of culture. Through a sensitive and personal approach, she seeks to reflect on our relationship with the land as our origin, our heritage, but also as a place where we root ourselves within the living world. We cover a lot in this interview. You'll hear a lot about Roxanne's backstory, her upbringing, her relationship to her mother's country of Colombia, and how that led her to discover or rediscover her connection to her father's homeland of Iran. As a person of mixed heritage myself, she and I had a lot to discuss, and I feel like I've made a new friend. One final note before we head into the interview, you'll hear Roxanne talking about her latest project called Exile as an Island, where she is interviewing and collecting stories from Iranians in diaspora. And she wanted me to extend the invitation to all the listeners here. If you are an Iranian in diaspora and want to be a participant in her project, she is collecting audio voice notes, recordings, to 3 interview questions, and I'll have all the information in the show notes below. But there are 3 simple questions for you to share about your experience of living in the diaspora as an Iranian. Her hope is to collect the audio recordings and not to specifically match them up to a specific person, but to showcase them in an installation where viewers, listeners can come in and hear these bits and excerpts from people's experiences and kind of find themselves in each other's stories. So if you'd like to participate, check out the link below in the show notes. All right, here's the interview. Yeah, tell me about you.
So, my name is Roxanne. I was born in France. I was born in Paris, where I live now. And yes, my mom is Colombian, my dad is Iranian. And they met here in Paris in the 80s. They were immigrants here, came to study to France, and they met as students and then fell in love, had me and my brothers. I was born in 87, so I'm a child of the late 80s, early 90s. And it was really hard to be a child of immigrant. It's still, I mean, it was really hard in France, especially at that time, and I think in the world in generally, when you didn't see much of yourself represented in the media and pop culture. So very quickly, I understood that this is not going to work for me. I need to leave France at some point because, um, so I'm white, like I'm blonde, I have green eyes, and somehow it came out this way. My parents are not the same color as me. But so people thought I was French, and culturally, I mean, I am French, But I'm also very drawn to Iranian and Colombian culture. So as a teenager, I was really looking for my cultures and I couldn't find them in France because the model of integration is assimilation, which is different than the US and the UK. Although I know it's not perfect there either, but this is what we have in France. And so any child of the 90s, because it's changed a bit now, will tell you it was really hard to be your parent, to have and hold your parents' cultures because the idea was that you were supposed to be French. And if you look like me, then you're definitely French. So as soon as I got a chance, I left the country. I moved out of France. I was lucky that my dad brought us to Iran every year when I was a kid, so I had the connection with Iran very, very early on. Colombia a little bit less because it's further. So the first country I went to when I had a chance is Colombia. So when I was 2021, I forgot. As soon as I got my degree here in France, I moved to Colombia on a whim. I mean, I found an internship and started teaching French there. To make a long story short, I studied law, and when I went to Colombia, I ended up working for an international organization because I wanted to do human rights law. And I moved to Haiti when the earthquake happened because I was in Colombia and I spoke French, so they sent me, which is completely responsible. I was 22, not prepared for that kind of work. But I got sent to Haiti, witnessed a lot of death and violence, which I think realized later fucked me up. But I was really, really determined to become a human rights lawyer after that. So I decided to continue my studies and move to New York to do a master's and take my New York bar, which I did. Made my dad very proud because I internalized the expectation from the immigrant father, especially Iranian immigrant father, on the oldest daughter. So I had to become a lawyer and I had to do it. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it my own way, but I'm going to just take it to the like highest level because I'm obsessive. And I became a New York attorney at 25.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, overachiever definitely here. And I also felt that for me, it was like I need to check the boxes. So it cuts me some slack. I'm free from all these expectations. I'm just going to do the max. So I'm freed forever of anyone's expectation, especially my dad's. Love him to death, but yeah, he really wanted to have a daughter lawyer. And so I ended up in New York and lived there for 7 years because I liked it too much. It was still a good New York. It was still fun New York. And I discovered music, which I always loved. And I really hated. So I basically found my way through the NGO world, the foundation world, started working in social justice, human rights. So everything that I wanted to do as a student, I managed to do. But I quickly realized this is not satisfying my soul at all. I'm checking the boxes. I have my New York life, but I really am not happy. And then I went to this bar in Brooklyn called Barbès, which is funny because Barbès is a French neighborhood in Paris, a Parisian neighborhood. And I found this Colombian band playing, and they were playing this music that I didn't know, which is called bullerengue, and it's from the Caribbean coast of Colombia. And so I ended up joining the band and played with them for like 3 years of my life as a side gig.
Wait, what are you playing?
So it's an ensemble where you have it's a call and response type of music. It's literally like it's African music comes from African people, and so you have a main singer and then the people that do the chorus. So I was in the chorus, I was singing back, but there was also like you needed to learn everything, which is it was really an interesting way of learning music because I wanted to join to dance because I love dancing and I was always a good dancer. So I joined for the dance, but when I joined, they said, okay, but you're gonna have to learn to sing and you're gonna have to learn to play the drum a little bit and also the maraca. So I literally like had to learn a bit of everything that happens in the group because this is how you learn truly music. Like dancing is another form of singing or another form of playing music. It's just with your own body. But I did spend more time dancing, and it became my space of joy. Trump got elected in 2016, and I was in New York, and I remember the day after. I remember going to the office and everyone looking livid, and I remember that that band, that music was really for me a place to find joy and to overcome what was happening. And back then, we didn't know it was just the beginning of fascism. And yeah, I had that tool and support, and it really saved me. It also saved me from a journey or career that would have made me profoundly unhappy. I think if I had continued just doing law, even though it was human rights law and it was, I was studying interesting, I was studying different places in the world where human rights violations were happening. And I think it really helped me understand also like the origin story of my own family. Um, like most people who come from countries where there are human rights violations, I think, and that maybe you'll cut it out, but because I never felt comfortable studying Iran, I had to go like I had to study elsewhere. So I, was put on topics on reports or projects around Ivory Coast, Kenya, Lebanon, trying to think Peru, Colombia, obviously, South Africa. Like I studied all these places, even Europe, where things were happening, and it just got me the language to understand these things and to know the rules. But music and art were really the space where actually emotionally I could process that. And I think if I had just been a lawyer and in the human rights space, my soul would not have been fed. And I think my soul needs to be fed because I believe in that I carry the story of my family and my ancestors in my body, and there's no other way than dancing for me to check it off or to just at least express it out instead of just internalizing it and yeah, just repressing it.
I love that. I've been inviting my ancestors to dance with me lately, and that's been so much fun.
Nice. How do you do that?
I light a candle and I say like Biobahan Beraksi, and I just turn on some music and we just and I have their photos around. So like as I'm dancing, I look at their photos and I like talk to them, and
Love
it's
it.
really nice. Yeah.
It's so important. It's so important to move the body, and I really appreciated this space because it's a tradition, and so I really appreciate spaces with a ritual, like a methodology. And I guess that's my lawyer side speaking. In the band in this music called Buirenge, there's a process, right? There's a courting the dancer. Well, it's quite gendered, but people have been able to move and change the rules a little bit. But originally, there's a dancer, the male dancer, who tries to court the woman dancer, court her away from the drum, who's also trying to seduce the woman dancer. And the songs that are sung are often about daily life, farming, or it's really about like that time where people were living communally together, farming, and they would tell the stories of everyday, the day-to-day life in the songs. And it's also really it's a genre that's really sang by women, so it will also be songs about love, but also pregnancy, menstruation. Like it's also about like there are literally movement in the dances where you touch your womb as you caress it and soothe it. Yeah, it's really healing, and the voice is this amazing. And I had this my friend Carolina who started the band and taught us to sing. She taught me also how to use my voice to just move everything inside of me. And I actually, ever since I moved back to Paris, lost it, and I miss it. I think the voice is this instrument that is another way of creating some sort of waves for the body and shake that off and or move the energy that is being stuck because we absorb so much every day and we don't have time to just process it. or space to process it. So New York gave that to me, the US gave that to me, and also so many other things like understanding of racial injustices, because in France it was something that when I grew up we didn't have, like people were not talking about race or racial inequality, all this stuff. Like I think I got way more sensitized and informed in the US, talking with friends, watching the news, obviously Black Lives Matter movement, like all these things were deeply formative for me. And I think I was quite struggling when I moved back here in 2019. I was not sure what to do next. I was still doing human rights research, so not really doing lawyering, but more research. And I slowly discovered my love for photography back. Like I rediscovered it. I had it. I remember very clearly holding my first camera when I was 7, actually in Colombia. My uncle gave it to me, and yeah, like a lot of things, I lost it for adulthood from t becoming an adult, from teenagehood to adulthood, because you have to be, again, your parents expect so much of you because they know it's going to be hard since you're starting from zero as a child of immigrant, and they don't think you're going to be happy being an artist. They don't think the art has a place because they're so stuck on survival mode. I think my dad was super scared. If I when I was creating this choreography, dancing or expressing this, like I was writing a lot, and he loved it because I think my dad, like a lot of Iranian dads, there's a thing with between Iranian dads and poetry. They speak like they write, and I have a poem, but they write and speak like poets, and they're just so funny. Like the way they write is poetry. They don't even know it. So he appreciated it, but for him it was not even a question. Like my kids are going to be an engineer, a lawyer, or doctor, the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. Yeah, one of each, right?
You have free option. That's good. Pick one. Yeah,
So photography is like relatively new for you?
it's new in adulthood, but
Yeah.
I always thought in images. Back in New York, and when Instagram was still a relatively new thing, I was following all these photographers. I was following closely the career of some war photographers that I really respect and really like the work. I knew that images were like I was driven to images and that they were really calling me. I was afraid because I had been so formatted in the academic system and as a lawyer to learn everything by reading text and applying text that my I think my mode of being um, was not so spontaneous and not trustful of a capacity to learn by doing. And so I had to unlearn this to be able to be a photographer because I was not going to go to photography school. I mean, I did take classes and I did like train, but it was not a formal education like law was. And for me, it was really troubling. It was really unsettling at first. And it was actually, I think it was good for me to go through that process. And I still struggle with that sometimes. I still feel, hey, am I actually a real photographer? I didn't go to school for that. But music came before, and music helped me because I was a musician, even though I hadn't gone to music school. But I got that validation from the professional musician that I was working with, that I was playing with. They're like, no, you sing, you dance, you play. You don't need a school stamp to tell you're a musician. So that it had already prepared me to explore other forms of arts without having the approval stamp of a school, for example.
That's amazing. So can we move into talking about your photography projects? Do you want to talk about your first one, Exile is an Island? What that project was?
That's the second one.
Oh, it's the second one?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, because the book just came out for the first one, so I guess I got confused. Okay. Which one do you want to start with?
Yeah, I think the book, because
Okay.
there's a sequence. But I know it might be confusing because on my Instagram page, I started publishing things about Exile is an Island before publishing the book.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But the series, which the book is made on upon, was that a
And the
correct
book
sentence?
is, sorry, the English is The Return. Is that the English?
So it's actually we decided to call it Le Retour, even in
Okay.
English, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
translation is no, don't worry. This is actually a great opportunity to clarify these things because I did call it The Return for a long time translating it, but the book is going to be called Le Retour in any language. It's based on a series of photos I took in 2022 when I went to Iran after 20 years of not going there. It started my photography journey. I had been taking photography before, but I this is the first time I went with an intention of I'm going to take photos and don't know exactly. I know that I want to take photos of my family, of what I see in Iran and how I experience being back in Iran. I just that was just my intention. It was on more form than that. And I write. Sometimes it's just text, sometimes it's poetry. So when I was there, I also processed a lot by writing, and some of these poems are included in the book. So the series is the photos and the poems, and the book is the combination, the compilation of these two art form together. And the book just came out, but the series has existed for about 4 years now. It's taking a different form now, different
Hmm.
iteration. Yeah.
Okay, I have so many questions.
Fire away.
I guess first, like, so you said you went to Iran every year growing up and then you stopped, right? How was the experience different, like going back 20 years later?
Very different. I was, oh, I forgot the age. I think it was 35. I was 35, 34, 35. I was an adult. Whereas when I was a kid, I was a child or a teenager. I think last time I went to Iran as a child, I was 14. And we would go with my dad and my mother. We would go as a family, my brothers and my parents. And so the time when I went back in 2022, I went for the first time as an adult and I went alone. I didn't go with my father. I knew that I wanted to experience Iran as an adult with the eyes of someone who was 35 and who has the experience of someone who's 35. So like my whole life experience, having lived in the US, having grown up, having studied, like it's a whole different experience. I also have a lot of cousins in Iran, so I knew that I would come to Iran and I would just be taken care of by my cousins and that they are the same age as me, so that I would have also a full adult experience because I will be with people my age, which I did not experience when I was a kid. It was just like you're being, moved from one place to another. You follow your parents, you follow the adults. You really don't get to say anything. This time, me and my cousin, we made a plan. I told her I want to go to Hormuz, I want to go to Reshm, I want to go to south of Iran because we're from the north. So when I would go as a kid, we had no choice. It was Tehran. We arrived in Tehran and then we just moved straight to the north and we spent the entire summer in Shomal. My family is from Langeout, so we just stayed there. And I remember being bored as hell as a kid because at some point you just eat and sleep, eat and sleep, eat. It's Shomal way of life, which now I would love as an adult. Like just let me do that for 2 months. I will be the happiest. But when you're 11, 12, 13, 14, you're like, no, what is this? It's holiday in Europe. Like I'm supposed to just do things. I remember my dad, one year he gave in and he took us to Shiraz and Isfahan. So we went to see actual like tourist stuff in Iran, but otherwise he just wanted to sleep and eat. So that time I did some travel and then obviously went to the north and saw my family. And I think so many of the photographs I've taken are actually for me the most poignant and the most meaningful photographs I've taken in this project are from the north, are from Shomal, are from where my family is from, because I felt so many things when I was there. The other times in the other places in Iran, it was great, but I was a tourist. I felt like a tourist, like a French tourist. When I arrived in Langeroute, I felt Iranian.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Well, I've never been to Iran. So,
Mm.
Yeah, how does it feel different in your body to like be in the land that is where your family's from?
It's wild. First of all, because I see people that look like me. Even though I told you earlier, like I'm blonde, and I know people could
Mm,
think I'm French, but when I'm in my family in Langeroute, I see my face feature. I recognize myself in my people's face, in yeah, in their faces, like especially my family, obviously, which is nice. The feeling of recognition. I think as a child grows away from their parents' homeland, it's uh, I didn't experience that. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't see myself. Long nose, big eyes, big lips. Like this is well, okay. I miss the reason I look like that. And also being in a room with a lot of people who share your DNA. I never thought I would be someone who would be attached to that kind of things, but there is something very, I was gonna say animal, if it's the right word, but you're kin, right? Like the people that shared blood, ancestry, and history with you that goes back and that you don't comprehend because you didn't grow up there, but you feel it. Like it's almost intangible and indescribable, but you can feel it. And I have this moment I remember very clearly seeing my uncle cooking for me because in my family, men cook, and I love it.
that's amazing.
And my uncle, and it's a love language, I think, for a lot of Iranians, but like definitely the men in my family, that's their love language. And my uncle was cooking something for me, and I'm looking at his hairy back and he's cooking, and I'm like, wow, this feels so nice, like being taken care of by someone in my family. That's, I mean, it's not my mom, it's not my dad, it's someone else who loves me deeply. And I have next to him when I have my cousins waiting and my aunts and just like if I felt like a big embrace, like a big warm embrace of love and like just feeling that I belonged, that I was part
Mm,
of a group that just shares something that just like it's as powerful as blood. And I have a lot of friends. I'm a very sociable person, and I always like had a lot of people around me wherever I lived. But this was different. This felt different. Yeah.
wow. I'm I'm so
Yeah,
happy you had that experience, and I'm also so jealous.
I know. I think everyone deserve and should be able to have that. Sucks that people cannot have that.
Yeah.
It really is not okay.
Thank you. Why did you not invite your dad to go with you? I asked that question because like I've never been to Iran and like I've always wanted to go. And before my mom died, she and I were actually planning a trip there. Um, it's funny. I had like convinced her to take me, and then she got diagnosed with cancer, and then from that moment on, she was like, I'm not going back. She's like, I'm not wasting the limited time I have left going back to Iran and being heartbroken because she never went back after the revolution. And she's like, I cannot handle that. And so she chose not to go back. Um, and now that
Mm.
she's gone, I'm like, who would I want to go with? Like, I've been like, I don't know, I've been carrying this question of like, who would I even like trust enough to take me around and show me around because I don't even really have family there. Most of my family has left. So like I don't know who I would even contact.
Mm.
But it never even crossed my mind to go by myself. Like I guess you knew people there, so that's different, right? But like I'm
Yeah.
thinking, yeah.
I think if I had been on my own and if I didn't have my cousins back there, I think it would have been I would have thought about it more than twice. Because it's scary. Like I don't speak the language very well. And it's not scary, like as in it's not a scary place to go. I think people are more scared to go to Colombia, to be honest, but I don't speak the language well and I wouldn't know where to start. Like it just, and also when you don't have family left, but you are from there, like people expect you to be, you also expect yourself to be Iranian. So there's a lot of pressure you put on yourself. And on top of that, if you don't handle, like you're just gonna go, you're gonna feel as a tourist, like it's just a lot of contradictory feelings that I wouldn't know how to manage. So I totally understand you and feel you. And I kind of want to like loan you my family.
I'd love that.
I think that would be a way to go. It's just like, can you just borrow a family from someone else's and just go and have the experience because the Iranian hospitality is a real thing.
Mm, yeah. I think as an American, I've had in a different situation. I don't know if you know this, but like with a US passport, you can't really go to Iran easily. And because it's my mom who's Iranian, not my dad, I don't qualify for Iranian citizenship. So I can't get an Iranian passport. I only have a US passport.
Oh,
Yeah. So like I would have to go and like when you travel as an American tourist, you have to get a tour guide, a chaperone to like follow you around everywhere. And you can't go into people's homes. I even asked one time, I was like, if I go, could I like connect with like my distant cousins? And they were like, no, you're not allowed to.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's very, they make it hard, you know? They make it really hard. It's like, okay, well, yeah. When my mom and I were gonna go, she was starting to like, there's apparently like a relative visa I could have
Okay.
gotten, but now that she's dead, I don't know if I even qualify for that, you know? So yeah,
Sorry.
the bureaucracy is a lot.
Feels like a double grief because you had to grieve your mother and then you also have to grieve like going back to Iran because you were going to do that with your mom and then
Yeah, yeah,
so
definitely. Yeah.
uh yeah, the motherland in your case.
Yeah, yeah, literally. Yeah. Yeah, it's been but it's nice to like connect with people like you. I feel like I'm following so many people on Instagram who are able to travel back and forth and share their photos and their stories. And yeah, I I love seeing it through a lens of like people our age because I feel like all I've ever really seen is like from my mom's generation and like
Mhm.
that nostalgia and a time capsule of the era, you know, but to see like what it is like now is really exciting.
Mm. You asked me why I didn't take my dad, and I think I mean, first of all, I think he doesn't like traveling these days, but also I think because of what you just said, like this like lenses of this older generation who have a bit of a outdated view on Iran because it's frozen in their heads. And I really wanted to make my own opinion and impression of the country as a young adult, not through my dad's eyes. So it was really important to do that trip without him. Even though sometimes I mean, I really hope I can go back with him because it will be a whole different experience. Sort of like passing a torch because going there also was passing a torch. I mean, I made him pass the torch to me because I think he's not going to travel much more. He's older. Yeah, he doesn't like taking a plane. He's afraid of planes. He's afraid of flying. So I think that maintaining the connection and the relationship with the country and the family is kind of upon us, the children. So we have a duty. I feel like he didn't say it expressly and verbatim, but I know that he feels it. Like he is really insistent on us keeping a contact with our cousins and family back there. But for him, for us to go is also very important. And we have a house in the north that is, it's on my dad's name. Like we have land, literally, like officially. And yeah, I don't want to lose that. And it's hard. It's really hard. I have another country where it's easier to go, which is Colombia, and sometimes I compare the two and I feel so imbalanced. Like why is it so easier for one side of my identity to be accessible and the other one like there are all these questions of well there's war and just like yeah, I really envy people who can just take a plane and go back to their country with no questions and no qualms, no problems, no war whatsoever, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that brings up the question I had of like, do you feel closer to your Iranian identity, or like, how do you identify yourself in terms of your mixed heritage, and how do the relating to both feel different or similar?
I feel as much Iranian as I feel Colombian as I feel French.
Mm.
I'm Holy Trinity. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I'm all of them. I think the differences will be the way I access them and the easiness in accessing them. French obviously is obvious. I was born here. I grew up here. I have cultural references. I was living here up until non-stopping until I was 20. And then I think I took a journey. Like it was intentional for me. Like I told you, if I had stayed in France and studied in France and then just lived in France my whole life, I probably would not have been, we'd probably not be having these conversations, you and I. I took it upon myself to become Iranian and Colombian as a person who was born in France from a Colombian mother and Iranian father. And so for me, it started with Colombia because Colombia was easier. I spoke Spanish and I knew I would just go there and it would be easy for me to navigate the country with the language, even though it was further out. Also, like I was 20 something, I wanted fun. I wanted to be able like to go out on the street and wear whatever I wanted to wear and just go to the beach and like just dance salsa, get drunk. Like this was my vibe. So Colombia was easier. And I did go very early there. Like it really started in my early 20s. And I'm very proud today to say that I speak Colombian like a Colombian. Like I may have an accent, but I know the slang. I know I have cultural references. I know the music. I really like it was a task, it was a journey, it was a mission for me to be as Colombian as I could get. Like as much, yeah, as Colombian as I could get, and I managed. And music was a way for me to access Colombianness in a way that was more personal, like not just Colombian like I'm not Colombian like my mom. Like I'm not Colombian like I don't know how to say this. Thanks to music and learning more about Colombian's culture for music, I was able to be even critique of Colombian culture, like to be able to understand the nuances, the racial disparities, the story of colonization, but also how it shapes the country today and the culture, um, social class differences, like all these little subtleties. I was able to get them by being in the band, living and spending a lot of time with Colombians. Going to Colombia, like it was very easy because when I was in New York, for me, going to Colombia was almost like going back to France. So I really felt, I want to say, I felt American. Like I managed to feel that in my identity. Um, I don't feel like I'm a French person who happens to have a Colombian mother. I'm actually a Colombian person. So I feel like that part of my identity is formed. And obviously, I don't pretend that I know what it's like to have lived in Colombia your whole life and to live there at the moment and to experience Colombia and being Colombian every day, and being in the country every day. But uh, I feel like when I'm with Colombians, like I'm not going to be singled out for having lived in and growing up in France. Like I share a lot of cultural references with them. It was really a mission. Like I really, really wanted to absorb it as much as possible. That took me a good 10 years. So when I moved back to France and I realized, okay, this is my time now to get closer to Iran because now I'm going to be in a country which is closer and it's going to be easier for me to travel. I don't live in the US anymore. I was already in my mid 30s and I didn't have the language and I was scared because I had lived in the US for 7 years. So when I decided to travel in 2022, it was with a lot of back and forth, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Oh my God, what's going to happen to me? First time I go without my dad. It's the first time I ask for my own passport. And I still, because we went there every summer when I was a kid, I still felt that Iranian identity was deeply rooted in me. It was given to me from a very early age. And my dad is such a proud Iranian. My dad is so proud of his culture. And even though he didn't give us language, he gave us love for our culture and he gave us cultural references that I felt, okay, but this is still me. And I'm going to try as awkwardly as possible. I mean, even if it's awkward, I'm going to try as much as possible to just find a way to access it with all these shortcomings that I have. No language. I don't look Iranian. I'm scared. All these things that like were in my way when I decided to go. So when I went, it was a big. it was a big relief and a big sigh of like, oh, finally, finally it's happening. And and I remember a lot of the things I saw, like when I went to the north of Iran, it was reconnecting with childhood
Mm.
because these were my childhood souvenirs. The house, my grandmother's house, the house by the beach, but my grandmother's house. Um, Seeing also like the faces that I saw that were familiar to me that I didn't see, I hadn't seen for a long time. Like it was a big relief. But till this day, for me, connecting with Iran is takes more work, takes more work than Colombia and then French friends. Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing most profoundly is that like it was a choice for to both to like connect with your Colombian and your Iranian identity. Is that like I think a lot of us in diaspora are just assume it is what it is because we were born into it without acknowledging
Hmm.
that like no, there's an effort involved to really connect more deeply because I've talked to a few people who I kind of like pose the question. I'm like, do you consider Iran, for those of you who were born outside of Iran, who have never been, like myself, like, do you feel comfortable saying Iran is your homeland? And a lot of people are like, well, I've never been there. Like, no, 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 like it's my parents' homeland, but I don't feel like I could claim that, right? And I've found, at least for myself, the more I actively try to connect to Iran, the more comfortable I say, like, no, it's a homeland for me."
Yeah. I agree. And I think now with hindsight, I was very harsh on me when I was 20, in my 20s. Like, if you want to be Colombian, you have to go and live there and be fully immersed in it. And like, you have to know everything, like to the national anthem and probably the constitution. Like, I was really type A in reconnecting with my cultures. And if I was to give myself an advice, to give my 20-year-old self an advice, is like, you can be Colombian in any way, shape, or form you want to be. Like, there's no one way to be Colombian or Iranian or French. Like, there's such a myriad of ways, and no one is better than the other or more legitimate than the other. It's up to you, your experience, what's available to you. Cut yourself some slack. Like, it's hard enough with the geopolitics and the condition of growing up in the diaspora, and for many people, why they are in the diaspora in the first place. Like, if we start judging ourselves or judging the others for not being Iranian enough or not being Colombian enough, like then we are re-traumatizing ourselves. We don't need that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because there's a difference between, because I know even like my sister, she's been kind of scared to start like relearning Farsi because she has so much judgment that she should be better than she is, and so she's scared to even start practicing. And so it's this like, double-sided coin of like, well, then you're not actually doing it. So how do we find the the motivation to put in the effort without the judgment of like, well, I should already know this. I'm Iranian, I should know this already, you know. But it still requires effort of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the language part is such an interesting aspect. I mean, I feel her because I'm the same. It's actually one of my poem is it feels like learning my father's language should be a given. If
Mm.
it should be something that I just needed I would just need to upload the software somewhere because it's there. It's waiting to be upgraded like a MacBook upgrade. Like it should be accessible. Like, why do I not just speak Farsi by birth? Like, I should have just come out of the womb speaking Farsi. Like, it's not normal almost. But hey, this is part of what happened in immigration. And I understand your sister because for a lot of Iranian kids like us, it feels almost like it feels unfair that we don't speak it. And it's a battle to learn it because you have to accept that you lost it, or that at
Yeah.
least you don't have it. And you first probably you have to accept that. You have to grieve that it was not given to you. So when you've done that grieving, then you can go to class or take the step of learning or take a teacher like a non-Iranian person. And I think for me, it's accepting that I'm Iranian who don't speak Farsi, whereas for a French or German who wants to learn Farsi, they don't have to go through that process of accepting the loss. And so for them, it's just as easy as that. They can just register for a class and they don't have to like get too much into their head about it. But for us, there's an emotional charge that makes it hard. Kind of a tantrum, like, no, I don't want to go to class. I just should learn I should know Farsi. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that journey of like acceptance, without the shame, but then you still get shamed by other people and you feeling like confident in your own identity enough to be like, no, I'm okay with this. But it's hard and it's exhausting and yeah, there's grief in it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to talk about the book? Why did you make it a book? Why does it look like a passport?
I wanted the photos to live forever and ever and ever. No, I mean, yes, there's a bit of that. So I had a series, I had the poems, I did an exhibition in Paris 3 years ago, but I felt like something was missing. Um, and I was not, when I started photography, I was not so familiar with photo books and like the world of photo books. But the more I got into the world of photography, met photographers, made friends with photographers, and I started to understand the importance of photo books. They are objects, but not just books. I mean, and a book is an object, but in the sense that it turned the photo into something else. It stops being just this image, this flat image that can exist on your hard drive, or sometimes you print it. It forms part of yeah, it forms part of something else. It becomes a whole. Um, and in my case, when I approached my editors about making a photo book, I told them, look, I have these photos. The series is done. I just feel like it needs another shape to be able to live in the world. Um, to live in the world and to take its full and legitimate space in the world. And I think it's a photo book because from what I understand, when I see other people's photo book, I see that it gives another significance to the photo. Like the photos. I don't know how to say that. I'm thinking I'm losing my thread on that, but well, it all makes sense when I talk about the passport. So I approached them with the idea of making a photo book so that the photos could have a timeless form. And they said, okay, we have an idea. We want to do a passport. And it all clicked there. Um, because suddenly the photos will take on a new meaning in addition to what they're already conveying. It will take on the meaning of the shape of the book that they will become. In this case, the passport. And so why the passport is that my two editors are also kids from the diaspora. One is French Iranian, and the other one is French Cambodian. So they totally understand what I did with this series. They understand the concept of the return. They understand what it's like to be searching for your roots and doing that trip back to the homeland to understand where you come from, where your parents come from. And to do that trip, you need to have a passport. The passport is a very symbolic object. It carries a lot of meaning and a lot of emotional charge. And so, especially for Iranians, and you and I, we just talked about it. Some people don't have a passport, cannot have a passport to go back to Iran. Some people, for other people, the passport is also like it's where my visa is on. So I can stay in France or I can stay anywhere else in the diaspora thanks to that passport and the visa that is on this passport. The passport has so many meanings for so many people. And so not just Iranian diaspora, but so many other diaspora and immigrant communities. So the fact that my photos and my poems would live in a book that takes the shape of a passport for me was the pinnacle. It was okay. The whole concept is now sealed and wrapped. Like that's it. That's what we're trying to say.
I love that. I just love the concept. It just, especially since, well, I don't know about other passports, but like the US passport, every page has like an image, a different image on it anyways, right? And so it's kind of that idea of like I mean, I look through a US passport and I'm like, the images on this US passport are like so colonialist and like patriotic. It's kind of disgusting. Like if I were to make a US passport, like what images would I actually put instead, right? And so it's this kind of idea, like what images should I actually include in this that represents this
Mm.
place to me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You said it very well. Yeah, it is. It's the collection of all the images that I saw and captured when I was back home. And the passport was for one was the way for me to go back home, but then the full experience is in these images that are in the passport. So it's kind of it's also an object of archive. It archives my experience of being in Iran and that object that is so important, so necessary for many of us.
Yeah. So how was it publishing this book now? Like what timing?
God, I just I'm someone who really I'm very spiritual. I believe in God. I believe that time is divine. Timing is divine. Like it's all made up there. Um, so it helps me accept the timing that is happening. When we first talked about doing the book, it was over a year ago, and it was gonna come out initially, I think January, which would it would also be, I mean, basically 2026 is a bad year for Iran, so
Yeah.
it would not
It's
have
only been
been,
4 months, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. But so now that this is the timing and I'm accepting it as it is, I also have to wrestle with all the emotions that come with publishing a book on Iran, but publishing a book about the experience of going back to Iran when I cannot go back to Iran, and so many people cannot go back to Iran, and it's closed, and my family is there, and I can barely talk to them, and I'm showing the pictures of them to so many people. Like in a way, it's so weird because it feels like I'm giving full access to my family to like a wide audience, and I don't have access to them at all right now. It's so weird. I'm saying as I'm saying this to you, I realize how weird it is. Like it's I think something I'm trying somehow my brain is trying not to fully process it because it's so unbearable. And so I think every one of us right now is dissociating just to be able to continue living day by day. But it feels unreal to be talking about going home right now, going to Iran, and these images from 4 years ago of places that I don't even know if I will find them exactly as they were in my photos when I go back. It's yeah, it's unbearable. I think it gives it gives solace, it gives comfort, but also yeah, it brings me sadness and nostalgia. Um, I guess for the first time, maybe I'm experiencing something similar to what my dad probably experienced when he left. And then he came back, and then the country had changed. And I think the further you live far away from Iran, the less you know how you're gonna find the country when you go back. Like, are these streets going to be the same? This place is going to be the same? Are people going to be looking the same? They're gonna age, some are gonna die. Like it's all these losses that happen as you are not there. And when I so we launched the book last week, and I think the comfort that I feel is that a lot of people are coming to me saying thank you because I think we're all experiencing the same thing, but we don't have a space to talk about it. There's no room, there's no forum, there's no, yeah. We're all experiencing it individually, collectively through social media, but it's still very much an individual experience because it's us with our screens. So I think art and it happens that my book is going to be one of these art pieces that are given as an offering, but I know other Iranian artists are doing things as well. They are creating spaces for us to mourn collectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of like when you talk about the book as an archive, like you kind of hope, well, I hope it's not an archive of things that no longer exist, right? But we just don't know. And that's kind of,
Yeah,
yeah, the uncertainty feels really scary, I imagine, and
exactly.
unfair. Yeah.
Unfair. Like I was talking to a friend, I interviewed a friend about this notion of like going back to Iran, and she said it should be a human right for
Mm,
anyone to go back to their country. There is, there in UN conventions, it's like there's a right for any refugee in this place to go back to where they come from. But I don't think, I mean, there's no such similar thing for someone who's not a refugee.
right.
You're an immigrant, like or you're a child of immigrant. In my case, I'm
Mm,
French. Like I live in my own country, but yet I long for a place that I also am allowed to call home.
yeah.
And so are you. You're
Yeah.
allowed to call it home.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really feeling that. Wow. I had picked one of your poems to read, but do you have one that you want to share? That's
It's funny because sometimes one speak more to me than the other. Like it
mm.
depends on the mood and on how I feel particular day.
And these are all poems you wrote while you were there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, maybe I can read the one about language since we talked about it.
Okay.
Um, Learning my father's language feels like recovering a true self. It feels like getting dressed in knowledge that should belong to me but doesn't. It feels like enveloping myself in a world of meanings and myths that want to be discovered by me. They have been waiting for me. It's a torture too, a daily reminder that I don't belong, an open wound shaped by an exile that has not been admitted.
Mm, mm, yeah. Wow. It's this longing and also like resentment at the same time, I feel like.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's anger for sure.
Hmm.
There's anger. Like, a bit like what you were telling me about your sister. Like, oh, if I cannot know it perfectly, then what's the point?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm,
think it really fucks up people's identities too. And then they're like, well, if I can't speak the language, then how can I claim this identity? And,
mm, yeah,
and then I get angry at the systems that make us feel that way.
exactly. No, I think we should resist these systems. There's a whole host of reasons why we are not connected to our country, connected to our language, our culture, that are beyond our control. So if we get mad at ourselves, then we're not pointing the fingers at the right culprits or you know, the right reasons. And I think giving ourselves the indulgence and the compassion for bearing the consequences, being a product of all these different social, geopolitical, cultural reasons. Because also sometimes I know that parents wouldn't want to transmit the language because they felt that they had to assimilate and be as low profile as possible. Like I know that being Iranian in the US is very different than being an Iranian in France. I know that there is more stigma in the US since 9/11 than in France, for example, where there's on the contrary, a whole fetishization of Iranianness. So depending on where you grew up, where your parents moved, your experience of being an Iranian kid, the child of an Iranian parent, might be very different. It's not just all in your control.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good segue to your other project. Do you want to talk about the other project?
Sure.
now that I know it's the second project, right? You did the return first, and then you did the other project about, well, you can share, but it's the diaspora experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I called it Exile is an Island. I think I heard that phrase in a friend's podcast. A friend did a podcast after going back to Iran because it feels to me that, you live in this imaginary country when you live in the diaspora. The diaspora itself is this imaginary country, and it doesn't have borders because we are all dispersed into in different countries, and it's like we're floating together in this imaginary country, which feels then like this island of people who share a homeland. Do not necessarily. I mean, we're not necessarily the same. We are not the same for sure. We don't necessarily look the same. We don't necessarily have the same stories, but we have that commonality, which is we are not in our homeland. And so after that, after doing the series, the return or le retour, the book, I wanted to understand what it was like for other Iranians in the diaspora to be living far away from Iran, to having grown up outside of Iran like me. And I wanted to know if they had been back to Iran, and if so, what it had been like for them to go back to Iran. I wanted to put my experience in a collective experience compared with other people's experience. And so I decided to do it in France because this is where I live, this is where I grew up, and I was very interested in knowing other French Iranians of my generation, also older and younger. Because when I grew up, I didn't grow up with an Iranian community. So I didn't know what it was like for other Iranians in France to live. And I started meeting these French Iranians, mostly my age. And I interviewed them. I asked them. So the interview is pretty straightforward. So what's your connection to Iran? Is it your mom, your dad, both of them? Did you go back to Iran? What it feels, what did it feel like, and also how do you maintain a connection to Iran, to your culture, and what it feels to be Iranian. I always ask people at the end of the interview what it means to me, what it means for them to be Iranian. I also interviewed people that are living in France, Iranians that are living in France but didn't grow up in France. I wanted to also get that experience because I realized quickly that yeah, like I said, being in a diaspora means so many different things. I don't have the same experience as someone who came from Iran a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, who grew up here. Like we're just all different experiences. I wanted to put that together all in one common pot, one common pool of experiences. And I go to people's home when I do that, and then I take their photos, and I'm very interested in people's room, home, objects. How is very Iran in this apartment? Is very Iran in this house, in the objects that you use every day, in the food that you cook, in the music that you listen. Like I want to understand in your daily life and your daily gestures, is there a bit of Iran? And often there is. In fact, always. There's always somehow, somewhere in these people's places, there's a bit of Iran. Even if they don't speak Farsi, even if they never went back to Iran, there's always going to be a bit of the country in their decoration, objects, things they use, or it might just be the rice they buy. Like it's so interesting to me how everyone tries to keep a connection somehow. So for me, the photos, obviously I take portraits, but it's important for me also to take photos of the person's place
Mm.
and house.
That's so interesting. There have been a few times where I've been talking to friends who are like now starting to reconnect a bit more with Iran and Iranian culture, and then them realizing that like, oh, wait, I've been really into like the paisley or botte design because it's like all these things that like I thought I just liked it, and they didn't know that like, oh no, there's like a genetic reason, right, that I would be drawn to these sorts of things. And it's just funny for people to realize that like, oh, I've been having Iranian things in my life, and I didn't even know that that's what that was.
Yeah. Or a rug, like it's just like
Mm,
there's always something. Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. Or the eye, which I know is not it's not just Iranian, but the like warding the evil eye, the blue eye. It's so funny.
It also reminds me, I did an interview with a few months ago with Mina Sharif, who's an Afghan Canadian writer, and she wrote a book called Your War, Our Lives, and it was a bunch of like fictional short stories about like Afghans, just to humanize the Afghan experience. And there's one, most of the stories take place in Afghanistan, but there's one story that's about this Afghan woman who's like on tour through the US, and she's talking about being invited to Afghans' homes, like Afghans who have lived in the US for decades, right? And so she goes into their homes and she's like, they have the weirdest things on the wall. Like like things that you would never see in the home in Afghanistan. Like images of the mountainsides. Like in Afghanistan, we just look out the window. So we don't need a photo of a mountain on the wall, stuff like that. That she's like, it's weird that to her experience, from her lens, to be like, if I lived in America, I wouldn't bring Afghanistan with me. Like I would live in America. Like I would just be thrilled to live here, you know. But the people who live there for decades are desperately trying to recreate Afghanistan in their homes.
Yeah, that's definitely, and I've heard that from Iranian friends who grew up there, were adults there. They have this, they look at us in the diaspora, those of us who grew up outside of Iran or haven't gone back in a while, like we're a bit of a funny look, like in a funny way, because they're like, you guys are romanticizing Iran so much. Like there's a funny way you're trying to stay connected through these sort of obvious um, objects like memorabilia. Like yeah, it's a bit of a comic parody. I don't know. It's a bit of like a comic performative way of like being Iranian. Like you need to show really, and it would be a bit yeah, it's a bit much for them. Like I think one friend mentioned like these people like dressing in like traditional outfit, like or wearing this hat, and it's just like for me it's so weird. Like I don't need to show that I'm Iranian in such an obvious way. Like it's not necessary for me. Like my identity is clear to me. But I think when you grow up precisely without that identity around you, like you cling on to anything that you can to prove the world that or prove yourself as well that you're Iranian. And it also can show in your home decoration, like maybe yeah, I don't know if you have. I'm trying to think of like a particular object, but or maybe you have the tea service,
Mm.
or like famous one from Iran, or you have the Esfand, and like you always
Mm.
constantly stuff like I don't know. I think it's understandable that people are like that. And I think yeah, I was gonna say I think even people that live in Iran their whole life, I'm sure they can have some of these things also when they move away. You just you need to you cling on to certain things because you need to be able to hold on to something that you don't know if you're going to be able to see again.
Right, it feels like home, right? Like when I think of home, I think of these things.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about I don't know if you've read The Lion Women of Tehran, that novel, but there's a very short moment in the book where she's in New York, and she sees like Persian rugs in I don't know, some building, some office building or something. And she makes a statement like, "Isn't it amazing that like these things that were created by Iranian women are all over the world?" And just like, yeah. So I think about for there have been times where like I collect these things and I feel like kind of cringy in myself. Like I'm fulfilling a stereotype or something, right? But then I'm reframing it as like, no, these are things that were like made by the hands of Iranian women often, and like that's kind of beautiful to have that in my home, especially since like most of the Iranian women in my family have died. And so like to have that energy in my space makes me feel more at home.
Wow, that's super powerful. And in your history, that makes so much sense. I mean, it's the Iranian woman making a rug. Like probably if it had been, I don't know, a pipe made by a man, like you couldn't care less. I don't know, like it's just like it makes more sense given your history and the fact that for you, I was gonna say Iran is a woman.
Mm.
But like for you, it has female energy, it has woman
Mm,
energy. It's your mom. So for me, it's my dad.
yeah,
Uh, my relationship to my dad. So it's a bit of a different energy here. Not saying like not into necessarily the female or masculine energy, but at least in your lineage, it's your
mm,
mature lineage. So that's very powerful, very powerful. I have a friend, so the people I interview, they give me so many answers on how people connect to Iran and how they feel Iranian. And I have a friend whose way of staying connected is the food. Her dad is Iranian. He didn't teach her Farsi. He didn't take them there, so they never went there. And so she taught herself how to cook Iranian food, and she's really good to the point that I'm like really, like you sure you never went to Iran? Like she cooks like an Iranian woman, and I think somehow because her aunts are the great cooks in her family, like it's a way for her to continuing the lineage of the Iranian woman, like, and that's something that she didn't get for her dad, and being able to feed like her aunts would feed and feel Iranian for the food that she makes. Everyone finds their own way.
yeah.
Everyone, as I said, that I was trying to think what's my own way, and I think for me, my way is to collect other people's stories.
Mm,
I don't think I have like a way like with Colombia, for me, it was music. No, with Iran, for me, it's like I feel a responsibility somehow. I feel a duty to collect people's memory. That's what I
mm,
want to do.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think we're nearing the end, wrapping up. If someone wants to buy your book, how do they buy it?
There are two ways. I have a website with my book on it. There's a link in my bio on Instagram, but I can also share the link with you. You can directly buy it on my website. And there's also my editor's website. It's pretty much the same way. So you can buy it online. And I plan on going to New York and London as well, sometime this year or next. So that could be another chance to buy the book from me directly because I will bring books with me. But there's also, I forgot to mention, different libraries that will carry the book. I just don't know which ones yet. So I think it's good to be on the lookout for it. My editor just told me that they're shipping some books in New York, London, Switzerland, Barcelona. I'll have to track it. But the easiest way is online.
That's awesome. You're not coming to California?
We're sending some to San Francisco.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would love to go to Los Angeles. That would be really great. I think it's just
Mm,
where are you in California?
I'm near San Francisco, so
Okay,
yeah,
so I think for you it's gonna be easy because I know that someone ordered their library ordered them in San Francisco.
that's amazing.
But yeah, it definitely needs to travel to where the Iranians are, so
Yeah.
California.
Just to clarify, like the title's in French, but like it's translated, like the poems and stuff are translated into whatever language.
I wrote them in English
They're all in English. Okay.
and then they're translated into Farsi.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I would love to hear people's feedback and
Mm,
poems resonate with them, even the photos. That would mean the world for me. I would feel like my duty is done, right? My job is done.
do you want to close us out with one more poem?
Yes.
Okay.
A country I don't know, a country I can't forget, which escapes me but shapes me. A country that is not mine anymore. A country that has shaped and continues to shape my family. Lives gone, souls gone, stories lost. Where are you? You're gone. You left while I was gone. I came home and people were already crying, crying for the lost lives, whose who have long gone and whose who have just gone. What happened while we were gone?
That's the one I was gonna pick. I'm so glad you picked that one because that was one I was gonna ask you to read. Yeah, I think that one stood out to me. So I was like, ooh, that's one that yeah,
Mm,
I haven't even been there, but I feel like, yeah, where have you been while I was gone? Where I haven't been there. Yeah.
mm.
Thank you so much, Roxanne.
Thank you, Misha. Really appreciate the conversation and being able to share all these feelings with you.
Yeah. I hope everyone gets your book.
Yeah, please. I'm a people's person, so I would love to meet everyone who gets my book. I don't know. I know it's not possible, but still, I'm going to hope for it.